Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into another Quizzypedia answer.
Absolutely. Always fascinating to see where these questions lead us.
This time, it's Season 207, Question 10. Category: Business.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the question?
What is the name of the visual management tool used in project management that helps teams track tasks as they move through different stages of a workflow, often divided into columns such as to do, in progress, and done?
Sounds familiar. And it originates from Japanese manufacturing practices.
Exactly. Widely used in Agile and Lean project methodologies.
Ah, got it. It's a Kanban board, right?
You nailed it. A Kanban board. And that's precisely what we'll be dissecting today. Its history, structure, significance, the whole 9 yards.
Excellent choice. A real foundational tool in so many industries these days. Where do we start?
Let's rewind the clock.
Yeah.
Journey back to post-war Japan, Toyota, in fact.
1940s, if I'm not mistaken. Toyota was on a mission to boost manufacturing efficiency.
Spot on. Their engineers, led by Taiichi Ono, developed this system.
The Kanban system, they called it.
And the word Kanban itself is quite telling. Translates to signboard or visual card in Japanese.
Emphasis on visual cues? Makes sense considering how it's all about managing inventory production flow.
So let's break down how this Kanban board actually works. What does it look like?
At its core, it's all about columns, each representing a different stage of a workflow.
Like to do, in progress, and done, the classics.
Exactly. And then you've got tasks, each represented as a card, moving across the board.
A visual representation of progress, basically.
Precisely. Clear overview of what's pending, what's underway, what's finished.
But it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. It's incredibly adaptable. Teams can customize it, add columns, whatever reflects their specific workflow.
So a software development team might have columns like code review or testing.
Exactly. That's one of the beauties of Kanban. Super flexible, which makes it a perfect fit for Agile and Lean methodologies.
Now, why is that? What's the connection between Kanban boards and those methodologies?
Well, think about it. Agile and Lean, they're all about efficiency, transparency, continuous improvement.
Right.
And Kanban boards just click right into that. They make the workflow visual, easy to spot bottlenecks.
Easier to optimize, too.
Exactly. And then you've got that principle of limiting work in progress, a cornerstone of Lean.
Which translates to
Encouraging focused task completion. Wrap things up before jumping into new ones.
less multitasking, basically. Streamlined workflow. Makes sense.
Absolutely. So we see that visibility is a huge plus. What else makes Kanban boards advantageous?
Besides being able to see those bottlenecks, like we said.
Well, visualizing those bottlenecks, it directly leads to smoother workflow, increased efficiency.
It's not just about seeing what needs doing, it's about getting it done efficiently.
Exactly. Fewer things on your plate at any given time.
Less overwhelm. I can see the appeal.
It helps prioritize, maintain focus.
We started off talking about manufacturing, but Kanban boards aren't stuck there, are they?
Not at all. It's interesting how it's spread beyond manufacturing. Software development was an early adopter.
And from there, it seems like it's infiltrated all sorts of fields.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. Healthcare, education, marketing, you name it.
So we're talking a real multi-purpose tool here.
For visualizing and managing tasks. You got it.
Can you give some concrete examples? How do these different sectors use Kanban boards?
Sure. Let's take healthcare, for instance. They use them to track patient care.
Columns for diagnosis, treatment, discharge, things like that.
You got it. It's like a visual map of the patient's journey.
Very clear. What about marketing? How do they utilize Kanban boards?
Campaign planning is a big one. Also, content creation tracking, making sure those deadlines are met.
No more last-minute scrambles.
Ideally not.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't talk about Kanban boards without mentioning how they've evolved themselves.
From those physical boards to the digital platforms we see today.
Right. Trello, Jira, Asana, Microsoft Planner.
It's gone digital. Makes sense with remote teams and everything.
Exactly. Collaborate from anywhere.
And those digital versions, they must come with advantages over the traditional ones.
Absolutely. Think automation, notifications, analytics, features you just don't get with a physical board.
It sounds like a project management upgrade.
In many ways, it is. You can set up rules to move those cards automatically, get notified about deadlines, even integrate with other tools.
And then there's the data.
The analytics, yes. You can track team performance, spot bottlenecks, get real insights into how things are moving.
That's powerful.
It is. Takes the guesswork out of improvement.
So the core principles of Kanban, they're the same,
Yeah,
but the technology has revolutionized how we use it.
for sure. Digital Kanban boards have become a must-have for all sorts of teams. It's all about visualizing, managing, and collaborating effectively. But, it's not all smooth sailing. There are challenges to consider, even with the tech advancements.
Right, because a tool is only as good as its user. We'll delve into those challenges in the next part of our deep dive. Stick with us.
Before we move on to the challenges, though, it's worth emphasizing just how flexible Kanban boards really are.
In what sense?
They can be adapted for all kinds of teams, big or small, simple projects, or really complex ones.
So it's not just for those massive organizations or huge projects. Individuals can use them too.
Absolutely. Even for personal projects, the key is to adjust the structure to fit what you need to get done.
So how would someone do that? Adapt a Kanban board for personal use, I mean.
Well, think about the steps in any task, from start to finish.
Okay.
Let's say you're working on a personal project, building a software application, for example.
Got it.
Your columns might be something like ideation, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance.
So each column represents a phase in that application's life cycle. Makes sense.
Right. And as you make progress, you move a card representing the app through those stages.
Visualizing the progress.
Exactly. And it helps you stay organized, see where you might be getting stuck, keep the whole process on track.
It's a good way to break down a big, daunting task into smaller, more manageable steps.
Definitely. Plus, there's something motivating about moving that card across the board.
Seeing yourself make progress.
Right. We're wired for that sense of accomplishment.
It's a psychological boost. Interesting. So we've talked about the origins, the structure, the benefits, even how to use it personally. But how did Kanban boards become so tied to Agile and Lean methodologies?
That's a great question. I think it comes down to the core principles. Kanban's focus on visualizing the workflow, limiting work in progress, constantly striving to improve. These align perfectly with Agile and Lean thinking.
Can you unpack that a little? How does Kanban actually support those principles in a practical way?
Sure. Think about what Agile and Lean are all about. Efficiency, transparency, continuous improvement, right?
Right.
Kanban boards facilitate that. By visualizing the workflow, it's easy to see where those bottlenecks are and fix them.
So you're making things more efficient, which is a core goal in both Agile and Lean.
Exactly. And then you have the idea of limiting work in progress, which is huge in Lean.
Meaning?
Don't try to juggle too many things at once. Finish one task before jumping to the next.
It's about quality over quantity, less waste.
Precisely. And it creates transparency. Everyone on the team can see what's going on.
More accountability, too, I imagine.
Definitely. It fosters a much more collaborative environment. When everyone's on the same page, things just run smoother.
It's like being proactive about problem solving.
You got it. Instead of waiting for a problem to blow up, you can spot it early and address it.
That's crucial in today's fast-paced world.
Absolutely. You need to be able to adapt, to pivot quickly. And Kanban boards give you that framework for agility.
Speaking of adapting, one big difference between Kanban and Scrum, another Agile framework, is that Kanban doesn't use those fixed time-boxed iterations.
That's right. Scrum has sprints. Kanban is more about continuous flow.
So how do you manage deadlines in Kanban if you don't have those fixed sprints?
It takes discipline. You still need to set deadlines, even without sprints. Make sure they're realistic. And track your progress diligently.
So it's not just a free-for-all. You still need structure, accountability.
Absolutely. It's just a different kind of structure. Imagine a river constantly flowing. That's Kanban.
Versus Scrum, which is more like a series of pools.
Exactly. But the river still needs to be managed.
So communication is key in Kanban. Even more so than in Scrum, perhaps.
You could say that. Everyone needs to be on the same page about deadlines, priorities, because you don't have those sprint boundaries to guide you.
So the flexibility comes with a greater need for individual accountability and communication.
That's the trade-off. But a lot of teams find that flexibility worth it.
It seems like Kanban would be a good choice for teams working on projects where things change a lot, where priorities shift quickly.
Exactly. If you need to be able to adapt, Kanban gives you that freedom.
Now, let's talk about how Kanban boards themselves have evolved. From those early physical boards to the digital platforms we have today.
It's been quite the journey. The principles are the same, but the tools have transformed dramatically.
What did those original Kanban boards look like? Paint us a picture.
Think of a big whiteboard divided into columns and sticky notes, each note representing a task. That's essentially what they used.
Simple but effective.
Very. The key was, and still is, making the workflow visual. Everyone on the team needs to be able to see it.
When did this shift to digital start happening?
It really took off with the rise of the internet and collaborative software in the late 90s, early 2000s.
And then with cloud-based technology and mobile devices, it just exploded.
Right. Suddenly you have tools like Trello, Jira, Asana. You can access your Kanban board from anywhere.
No more huddling around a whiteboard in a conference room.
Exactly. And the features are just light years ahead of what you could do with a physical board. Automation, notifications. You can even link your Kanban board with other tools.
It's pretty powerful.
It is. And then there's the data you get.
The analytics.
Right. You can track how the team is doing, spot bottlenecks you might not have noticed, get real insights to help you improve the process.
No more guessing games.
Exactly. Data-driven decisions.
So the core principles of Kanban haven't changed, but the technology has made it a whole lot more versatile.
For sure. Digital Kanban boards have become essential for teams of all shapes and sizes.
But it's important to remember that technology is just a tool.
Couldn't agree more. It's about how you use it.
It's about fostering that culture of continuous improvement, of working together to solve problems.
Exactly. The board itself is just a means to an end.
In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the challenges of using Kanban and talk about how to overcome them so teams can really harness the power of this methodology. So let's talk about those challenges. We touched on a few earlier, like what happens when you have a huge team working on a single Kanban board? Things can get pretty crowded.
Yeah, that's a common issue, especially with those really complex projects, lots of moving parts. It can become difficult to even track the tasks, let alone manage them effectively.
So what's the solution there?
One approach is to break things down. Instead of having one massive board for the entire project, create separate boards for different teams or for different work streams.
So like the design team would have their own board, the development team would have theirs, and so on.
Exactly. That way, each team can focus on their specific tasks without getting bogged down by everything else going on.
Doesn't that risk creating silos, though? Teams not talking to each other, not knowing what's happening outside their little bubble.
That's definitely a risk. That's why communication becomes even more critical when you're using multiple boards.
So you need to make sure those teams are talking.
Absolutely. Regular meetings, shared dashboards, something to keep everyone in the loop. You need to be aware of dependencies, make sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, another challenge we mentioned was the whole time boxing thing, or rather, the lack of it in Kanban.
Right. No sprints.
So how do you make sure deadlines are met? How do you keep everything on track without that built-in structure of a sprint?
It all boils down to discipline. Setting clear expectations.
Even though you don't have those sprints.
Right, you still need to set those deadlines, make sure they're realistic, track your progress carefully. You can use tools like calendar reminders, progress trackers, whatever works for you.
So it's not that you're just winging it. You still have structure, you still have accountability. It's just a different way of approaching it.
Exactly. And for some teams, the absence of sprints can actually be an advantage. It gives them more flexibility. They can respond to changes more quickly.
If those priorities are shifting all the time.
Right. So it's a trade-off. You lose that fixed structure, but you gain adaptability.
You just need to make sure you're managing your time effectively, staying focused on those deadlines.
Absolutely.
Now, the last challenge I wanted to touch on is about keeping the Kanban board itself accurate and up to date. Why is that so important? What are the consequences if a team gets lazy about updating the board?
If the board doesn't reflect reality, then the whole system falls apart.
Because you're looking at it thinking you know what's going on, but you're actually looking at outdated information.
Exactly. You can end up missing deadlines, wasting effort. It creates confusion and frustration. So it's not just about setting up the board, it's about using it properly.
It's an ongoing process.
Definitely. It needs to be a habit. Everyone on the team has to buy in, make those updates regularly.
You can even use tools to help with that, automated reminders and things like that.
Exactly. Whatever it takes to keep that board aligned with what's actually happening in the project.
So it sounds like Kanban boards are a great tool. They have a lot of potential to help teams work better, but it's not a magic bullet.
Definitely not. It requires effort, discipline, commitment from the whole team.
But if you're willing to put in the work, it can really pay off.
Absolutely. Kanban can help you visualize your workflow, streamline your processes, and boost your efficiency. It's about embracing those principles of transparency, continuous improvement, collaborative problem solving.
And remember, The Kanban board itself is just a tool. It's the mindset, the commitment to improvement that really drives success.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of Kanban boards. We've covered a lot of ground, from those early days at Toyota to the sophisticated digital platforms we have today.
We've talked about the benefits, the challenges, the importance of adapting the system to fit your specific needs.
We've explored how Kanban aligns with Agile and Lean methodologies, and how it can be used for teams of all sizes, even individuals working on personal projects.
Hopefully, this has given you a better understanding of what Kanban boards are all about, how they work, and how they can be used to achieve better results.
And maybe, just maybe, it sparked some ideas about how you can apply these principles in your own lives, whether it's for school, work, or even just getting things done around the house.
It's all about finding what works for you, experimenting, continuously improving.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's about making our work and our lives a little bit better. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.